Welcome to the Blue Ridge Sports Rundown. This is your weekly update.
Welcome into episode 1 of the Blue Ridge Sports Rundown. I'm your host, Joey Raymond. Let's go ahead and jump right in with what went down on the Blue Ridge this week. Let's start with the Virginia Tech Hokies basketball teams, as on Wednesday, Virginia Tech men's basketball picked up a huge road win in ACC play, heading up to Syracuse and coming away with a 76-74 victory. The Hokies trailed at halftime, but rallied late behind Ben Hammond, who poured in 24 points and came away with 6 steals, while Toby Lawal added a double-double. The Hokies then proceeded to head to Louisville on Saturday, where they had to play against the 23rd ranked team in the Louisville Cardinals. They fought hard on the road, but fell 85-71 to the Cardinals. The Hokies hit a season-high 16 three-pointers, led by Jalen Bedford's 24 points and a career milestone with his 1,000th point, but Louisville built a lead early and honestly never relinquished control. Cardinals freshman Mikel Brown Jr. returned from injury and scored 20 points in the win, and despite a strong second half showing from Tech, that early edge was just too much to overcome. On to the Lady Hokies, as Virginia Tech women's basketball played a tough home matchup Thursday versus the Clemson Tigers, and honestly was one of the most gutsy wins I have ever seen in my lifetime. Castle Coliseum was rocking. They rallied late to knock off the Clemson Tigers 71-68. The Hokies closed the game on an 11-0 run, with Karis Baker hitting the go-ahead jumper with 11 seconds left and Carly Wenzel stealing it at the line. Baker and Wenzel led the way with 24 points apiece as Tech erased a second half deficit and found a way to finish when it mattered most. Then they traveled down to Wake Forest for a road game against the Demon Deacons on Saturday, and Virginia Tech came alive in the second half as the Hokies knocked down a season-best 13 three-pointers, with Karis Baker pouring in 20 points and 9 rebounds, leading a very balanced attack for the Hokies. And after a tight first half, Tech opened the third quarter with a huge run, never looked back, outscoring the Demon Deacons 28-13 in the fourth. Staying in the NRV, but heading over to Radford, we'll start on the women's side this time, as Radford bounced back in a big way, rolling past Longwood 78-63. Joy Williams led the way with 23 points, and Georgia Simonson added a career-best 18 points as Radford shot over 50% and tied Longwood in the conference standings. Then on Friday, the Lady Highlanders took on UNC Asheville, and Radford weathered a late rally from UNC Asheville to secure a 64-52 win inside the Dedman Center on Friday night. The Highlanders built a third quarter lead before the Bulldogs cut the margin to 1, but Radford responded with key baskets down the stretch to pull away. Junior Joy Williams paced the Highlanders with 21 points, while Kate Carlson added 12, and Georgia Simonson chipped in with double-digit scoring. On to the men's squad, as the Highlanders men's basketball team came just this close on the road against Winthrop, but fell 76-75 on a last-second three-pointer. The Highlanders led late and got 25 points and 8 rebounds from Del Jones, but turnovers proved costly in a gut-punch Big South loss. Then heading into Friday, the Highlanders took on High Point, and even though Radford came out firing in that home matchup against High Point and jumped out to an early lead, the Panthers rallied back for a 93-83 victory at the Dedman Center. The Highlanders got big nights from Del Jones and Dennis Parker Jr., with 4 players finishing in double figures, but despite the strong offensive showing and a spirited effort, turnovers and foul trouble in the second half allowed High Point to take control, and the loss dropped Radford to 11-11 overall and 4-3 in Big South play. Staying with hoops, but heading up to the Roanoke Valley, where Roanoke College men's basketball made a statement win on Wednesday, blowing past Lynchburg College 92-68. Jackson Bell was seemingly unstoppable, posting career highs with 31 points and 15 rebounds as the Maroons pulled away in the second half. The men then hosted Bridgewater College on Friday, where the Maroons rolled to a 74-57 win over the Eagles in a game that saw 10 Maroons score and 7 finish with 6 or more points. Roanoke used a 17-2 run early to build control and led by as many as 27 on its way to the victory. On the women's side of things, it was a tougher night on Wednesday, falling 67-43 to Lynchburg. The Hornets controlled the tempo early, and even with Mariah Tate leading the Maroons in scoring, it wasn't enough to overcome the Hornets' high-powered offense. On to Friday, the Lady Maroons went toe-to-toe with Randolph-Macon, and Roanoke fell just short, dropping a 62-59 decision against Randolph-Macon in a very tightly contested matchup. The Maroons battled back in the second half to cut the deficit to a possession, but couldn't quite complete the comeback down the stretch. Switching things over to the ice now, where the Blue Ridge Bobcats were back on the ice with a Friday-Saturday set against the Twin City Thunderbirds. On Friday night, the Blue Ridge Bobcats came out in a 4-2 victory over the Twin City Thunderbirds, and on Saturday, the Twin City Thunderbirds barely beat the Blue Ridge Bobcats 4-3 in overtime in a game that saw Roman Kramer scoring the OT winner for Twin City. The Thunderbirds built a third-period comeback after Blue Ridge had staged a second-period surge. The Roanoke Rail Yard Dawgs also had a Friday-Saturday slate against the Macon Mayhem. On Friday, the Dogs came short in a 5-3 road loss. Macon jumped out early, built a multi-goal lead, and while Roanoke battled back, it wasn't quite enough to complete the comeback. Now, on Saturday, however, the Roanoke Rail Yard Dawgs grinded out a tight 3-2 victory against those pesky Macon Mayhem, and Roanoke struck first this time, battled back after Macon tied the game multiple times, eventually finding the game winner in the third period to seal a tight 3-2 road victory. Switching gears to the racetrack, pun intended, racing is officially back in the Blue Ridge as the Pulaski County Motorsports Park, formerly Motor Mile Speedway, has been leased by the International Hot Rod Association and is gearing up for a full relaunch in 2026. The historic track will host the season opener of the IHRA Stock Car Race Series in March, bringing the oval and drag racing back to the New River Valley and restoring a staple of the local sports scene. Lastly, we'll recap Hokies Football as new head football coach James Franklin went on a recruiting rampage as the Virginia Tech Hokies closed things out in the recruiting front, with the Hokies signing a top 25 class nationally, bringing in a balanced group of high school recruits and impact transfers under the new regime. With 18 early enrollees from a 22-member group already on campus for spring practice, classified at around number 24 in the country in the 24/7 Sports Composite rankings. That ranking reflects a sustained string of top 25 hauls for Tech and a recruiting boost for both sides of the ball. This has been your Blue Ridge Sports Rundown. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more